What's up everybody, and welcome to Let's Play Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance. I of course am Whatthefnu, and are you comfy? Do you have some popcorn? Are you ready to sit down and listen to a story? Good, because I got a lot of things to explain about why I'm playing this particular game right here, right now. So, for those of you who haven't heard of something called Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, it is a Kickstarter that's going on right now, and it's by Koji Igarashi, who you also may know him from a lot of his works, such as Castlevania Symphony of the Night. He pretty much made all of the Castlevania games that everyone knows and loves, such as Symphony of the Night, Order of Ecclesia, Portrait of Ruin, so on and so forth. Now, he left Konami back in 2014, which was sad for a lot of fans of the franchise because they thought we were never going to get another game like this again. Not so! He has started up the Kickstarter for a game he calls Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I said that already. And it's looking to be exactly the kind of Igavania game that we all know and love. And it smashed its original goal. It has reached all kinds of new tiers of awesomeness. There's a 2-player mode, it's the biggest castle he's ever created, and also he's gotten David Hayter, aka the freaking man, to voice the main antagonist of this game. So it's gonna be like pretty solid. Another really cool thing that they did with this Kickstarter is that they have offered you the ability, if you pledge at $100 or above, you get to put your name in the credits of the game under a specific clan. And there are boring ones like the Sword and Whip clans, but there are also, they reached out to a bunch of different YouTubers and said, hey, if you want your name to be in the credits for the game as a clan, we can have people pledge to be under your specific group. We were not offered that opportunity. Let me just put that out there straight up front. But I still believe that this is something that's worth being a part of. I still believe this is something that's worth talking about and promoting to whoever I can. So, which is why I'm here playing this game. Now, why Harmony of Dissonance when we've got so many other legendary games that this guy has worked on? Well, it mostly comes down to a matter of emulation. Originally, I wanted to play Dawn of Sorrow on the DS as my project for this, and there's a very personal reason for that. It is my favorite Castlevania game of all time because it's the first Castlevania I ever played. It's actually tied with Super Castlevania 4 for being my personal #1 game in the entire series. However, the problem with me doing that is, essentially, if you're emulating a DS game and you don't have a DS capture card to work with, which I don't because those things are freaking expensive, you essentially have two options. You can either use, your first option is NOS GBA, because that tends to have very few performance issues. However, NOS GBA doesn't exactly work with every single game in the world, and unfortunately Dawn of Sorrow isn't one of them. You could also use another program called Whatthefnu, which has the opposite issue. It works with a whole bunch of games, but it tends to have performance issues, especially if you don't have the best rig in the world, and yeah, let me give you a small excerpt of how that worked out for me. Riveting stuff. Anyways, so that was out the window, obviously. Now, my second option, the second thing I wanted to do was the PS2 games, because I was always curious about those. I believe their names are Curse of Darkness and Lament of Innocence, if I remember correctly. Now, the problem with that was, for those of you who remember on the main channel when I was Let's Playing through Klonoa 2, my CRT is still busted. I have not had an opportunity to replace it yet. Well, I've had plenty of opportunities, but there are other things I needed that money for more immediately. And even if I had replaced it, I don't have the money right now to afford a splitter anyway, so we're kind of between a rock and a hard place on that one. Now, you can emulate PS2 games, but the problem with that is that they can distribute the emulator legally, but the BIOS file actually needed to run all of the games is not legal to distribute because Sony has a copyright on that. So you actually have to get the BIOS file off your actual PS2 in order to run that, which requires that you can run homebrew software off of the system, which, just trust me on this one, is a whole nother can of worms in and of itself. So it also doesn't help that it seems like everybody and their grandmother right now is playing through Aria of Sorrow, which story-wise actually directly precedes my favorite game, Dawn of Sorrow, which I was really looking forward to running through that one of these days. And the people playing through that right now are including but not limited to Proton John, Nintendo Capri Sun, Two Best Friends Play, just to name a few. And as for the games that are left on the consoles that I actually can record off of without having to run any emulator problems, yeah, we're just gonna pretend that Judgment never existed. So, this essentially left me with two options. Either I could Let's Play Ultimedius Excellent, or I could play through the lesser-known Igavania-style game on the GBA, which is what you're looking at right now, Harmony of Dissonance, which, can we just talk about that title for a second? I'm a little curious about the contradictions that lead into this, because this is a blind playthrough as well. I like to imagine that Japanese companies know what they're doing, especially with something like Bravely Default as the Fairy Flies. If you've played that game, you understand why that title is actually relevant to the story that's happening in there. But that's a whole nother discussion in and of itself. I have played through this game a little bit just to make sure it works properly, but only up to the first save point, which, if I remember correctly, is, collectly? Hello. Well, we are doing a lot of collecting in this game. I am aware that there is a side quest where you're collecting furniture in this game, which I just got done. Hello! You can stop hitting me anytime you like now. Thank you. I could have probably just used my sub-weapon for that guy. By the way, check out this sub-weapon here for a second. Ah! I love it. Gives me some very Dawn of Sorrow vibes off of that one. Just a flurry of punches. And that whole thing he says. It brings some memories of a certain anime, shall we say that? You don't want to be too overt with references, I find. People get what you're saying, even if you don't say it outright. And here's the first save point I was talking about, so yeah, I am totally in the dark from here on out. Whatever happens, happens. So, couple things I want to mention about the Igavania project itself. Like I said, they crushed their goal. Last I checked, they're sitting at about $2,600,000, which I guess they owe in no small part to the fact that they're... If any of you are familiar with a Kickstarter by the name of Exploding Kittens, it was one of the most funded Kickstarters of all time. The most funded game project of all time on the site, if I recall correctly. And there was, one of the reasons for that is they did something called backer achievements, where if the community collectively did a certain thing, like a certain number of likes on Facebook, a certain number of backers came in, they reached a certain percentage over their initial goal, then everybody would get a freebie. No extra funding or anything, everybody would just get something. And I understand the reason behind why you would do something like that. Because the extra promotion you get from Tumblr followers or Facebook likes or just being put in the public consciousness like that, people helping to put you out there, is worth eating the monetary cost it would take to actually give everybody one extra little thing in all of the different projects. It's a very smart business practice, and it's why that game pulled record-breaking numbers in every sense of the word. Now, I don't feel that there's going to be any problems with either of these projects, whether Exploding Kittens or Bloodstained Ritual of the Night are going to have any problems in actually being made. One, because in the case of Exploding Kittens, let's be real here, that game raised $9 million, pretty much. It would take an act of God for that thing not to hit store shelves at this point. The other side of this is that Koji Igarashi knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing in this industry. He knows who to talk to, he knows what to do in production. If you watch the stream that he did, just look up Igavania on Google and you'll probably find the Twitch thing he did with Kinda Funny Games a ways back. And that 8-hour stream where he was playing through a bunch of games that were inspired by some of his works, that was really cool, by the way. Okay, that thing just won't eat through them instantly, I see. Alright, duly noted, I'll keep that in mind. But the other... Yeah, a lot of the philosophies he's bringing into development I agree with. They make a lot of sense. I definitely see happening. He is a professional. We can trust him to deliver something like this. And before you bring up something like the Double Fine adventure, don't even start, okay? That project had problems from the beginning. I do... Just know, this one you can put your faith in. I've already backed it at $100, I'll say that much. And I love how he just run into the box. Justay's such a man, he could push this thing with his shoulders. Good job, dude. Also, can we just point out, I don't see a lot of people playing through this game right now, which is, like I said in the beginning, one of the reasons I chose to play it over others. Which, I don't understand why. It's not as good as Aria of Sorrow, but it's not a bad game either by any means. I mean, this music is great, it plays fantastically, Justay handles like a dream, and I don't know if you've noticed, but this game looks awesome. Like that beginning where you saw the leaf end up in the water and the ripples of the castle, the reflection, that was incredible. For a GBA game, this is some fantastic sprite work. And that soul illusion that's following Justay wherever he goes, that all the Belmonts seem to share, love it. I was always a fan of a soul illusion effect. It's like you're so awesome and your power is so great that space itself doesn't want to let go of the memory of your presence. I don't know, I always found that really cool. We got an ice book, heart max up. Okay, what does that actually do? I know what the soul orb does. We've got a couple relics here. Soul orb actually shows us how much damage we do against enemies. What does the ice book do? Spellbook. Oh, spellbook. When combined with a sub-weapon, using can cast many... Oh. Oh. So, if we've got our fist weapon... Oh, I get it! Oh, that's really cool! Actually, that's a lot more powerful than what we've got. I don't know if we're going to be fighting an ice element enemy either, or maybe a fire guy, so we'll just keep that on us. Although, I might want to search for a different sub-weapon, because as much as I like the fist weapon so far, I don't think it's been working out for me. I'm taking a lot of hits trying to hit people with this. Like, it charges right through enemies, and it has some invincibility frames. I don't know, you need a little more skill than I've got to use this thing correctly by dashing through foes. Let's see here. Let's go to the map. Also, the one thing I've noticed that I'm not a big fan of, notice when I pause the game, the music just dies. I don't know if it's because they did it in the other games, or because... Secret info. That's probably an endgame thing. Which one is my select button? There we go. Backspace. Okay. Yes, I am emulating this, and I did go through the trouble. Though my local game stores did not have the game I was originally looking for, they did have this. Make sure you actually buy the game. You own a physical copy. Don't get yourself in trouble for the sake of just playing something you never had before, okay? Just don't. But in any case, racking up some money. We have yet to see the shop. Oh, this music. I don't know if it's the 8-bit. That's something I've been going over in my head lately, especially because I've been composing music for my own game. Going over the idea... Wait a minute. How does this work with the ice book? Aha! Bit of an... Well, I guess I don't have a choice now. It's a bit of an awkward angle. I'd like the more dependable option of just having the arc there, so it hits enemies on both the upswing and the downswing, not just the down, so... Yeah, let's turn that off for a little bit, or at least until I find a different weapon. This is going to be really fun to experiment with for a little while. What's up here? Okay, just a little bit. I can afford to do this. And actually, that's another save point. How long has this recording been going on? About 15 minutes. Yeah, that's far enough for this episode. So, now that I've got the massive explanation out of the way, thank you all for watching, and please join us in the next episode when we will be going further into Dracula's Castle and Harmony of Dissonance. Until then, I'm Whatthefnu. Later, everybody! Oh, and be sure to back Bloodstain, too. Forgot to mention that. That's really important. That is the whole purpose of doing this in the first place. You know, if you want. Got some extra money lying around. You know, been working extra hours at the office. Been putting in those, selling some extra things on Amazon. Why am I still talking? Bye!